From exploration comes knowledge, and from knowledge, freedom.
It's Bobby. How you doing? Okay, they decided let's have the old school come on first. All right? Yeah, I was there back in the days, Nuyorican. In the days of Old Coyote and Santa Maria Stella's. Who's from the Bronx here? Yeah! I met a few from Brooklyn. That's a foreign country. You get passports to go out there. Love them. We're speaking about diversity, differences among people. We should honor our common humanity, but we should also honor what's different among us. And a lot of my poetry handles with these issues. By the way, it's almost all women here. I know if I were a man on this campus and I see all these other women, I'd be at every event. Yeah. Now, for the student performers who are coming on later on after me, I've been informed they're all going to perform from the top of your head, right? You're not going to read? A little reading? Well, I'm really old school. I'm not the Rain Man. I have to read. And I wrote a book called The Last Puerto Rican Indian, a collection of dangerous poetry. And you open the book and it says, warning, proceed at your own risk. This book has been condemned by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. You're laughing, but Homeland Security has a program. They monitor all guest speakers on campuses. So in the event someone is monitoring me right now, I do not advocate the violent overthrow of the United States government. As we say in Spanish, por si acaso. All right. Now, I was just speaking with a sister here. Oh, by the way, when you're learning public speaking and reading in public and performing, learn how to use the microphone. And every microphone has its own personality. And this was, we just step back an inch and you're gone. I just noticed that. And yeah, and some of them you got to put your mouth right on it. Now, I was just speaking with a sister here, and her family's from the beautiful country of Haiti. Now, I'm a Native American, and I asked her, what's your Native American heritage? She said, well, I'm from Haiti. I said, well, Haiti is a Taino Indian word. It means high rocky country. And probably my most popular poem is about a woman from Haiti. And back in the days, among the Taino people of the Caribbean, our leaders very often were women. And there was one woman in the early 1500s above all. She was highly respected, and she tried to live in peace with the Spaniards. She tried to appease them, but it was for naught. And her name was Anacaona. She sits on the earthen floor, her wrists and ankles fettered by iron chains. She sits motionless, absolutely still, with her eyes shut tight, as the breath comes and goes, and long and measured flows. She is the poet queen of Haiti, and now she squats alone in a hut, chained, in darkness, with only the damp floor of Mother Earth to comfort her. She begins to release tears that fall to the ground like offerings to the great bleeding mother, La Madre Tierra y Diva Caobaba. She cries tears of sorrow for a daughter who will not have a mother to teach and to love her. She cries tears of sorrow for the children who will not have to endure a life of cruel enslavement. And she cries tears of anguish for the earth of her island that will no longer be tenderly cared for by the only people who are sensitive to her ways and to her needs. And then she begins to hum. And then she begins to chant. She chants the poem song that had been sung on the morning that she was born. She chanced a poem song that had been sung on the day she became a woman and was given a new name. And she chanced a poem song that had been sung on the day when she felt the labor pains that seemed to tear her body apart. And then she begins to sing and cry with joy, knowing that she will soon be walking in the radiant spirit lands where the ancient ones dwell. But for now, she sits alone on the earthen floor of a hut, her wrists and ankles fettered by iron chains. And the moon in the sky turns blood red in anger as the poet queen squats on the earthen floor alone. Anacaona, Anacaona. Now, again, for you up-and-coming performers, here's another tip. Never wear your watch like this on the outside. Always wear your watch on the inside, so while you're flaying your arms around, you're keeping track of the time. All right? If you want to get hired over and over again, keep track of the time. Don't get that fever and go up there forever. It turns people off. Okay? I learned that the hard way. Also, tonight, if you're reading, there isn't much light. So what you do is this. I'm learning here right now. You open the page and you pause, and people think, oh, he's pausing for dramatic effect. No, you're pausing for the eyes to adjust. You know what? I think I'll tell a story. A story appropriate for where we are. Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I guess most of you know that there used to be an Indian school right here in town, right? The Carlisle School, and it was a horrible place. There's a cemetery there. A lot of Native students died there. Many were abused. It was physical and cultural and spiritual genocide. And there were a number of Puerto Rican students who were sent there after the 1900s, so who knows, maybe my relations were there. And I want to share with you a true story of what happened at that school. And there was a 10-year-old Cherokee boy who was sent to that school. And when he arrived there, the superintendent read him the Riot Act. The superintendent told him, okay, young man, I see your name here is Ustadoya Saloli. That's not going to work here. In this school, you can only have a civilized English name. We'll call you Charles Smith. And we have our rules here. First of all, you know we're going to cut that hair. And the native regalia, I'm giving you a uniform. And listen, we know that your grandfather was a medicine man. We found out. And we have our rules here. If you speak your language, we'll beat you up. If you sing one of your songs in native language, we'll also give you a beating. And you can only practice one civilized religion in this school, and that's Christianity, or you get severely punished. Now this young boy, he was 10 years old. He probably didn't understand the half of what the superintendent was saying. And then it happened. One day he was caught in the schoolyard singing an Indian song. So the superintendent wanted to make an example of him and called all the school bodies together and all the teachers, over 500 young Native boys there. And the superintendent brought the little Ustadoyas up on stage, little 10-year-old kid, put yourself in his shoes. And the superintendent announced, this young man was caught singing a heathen song. Now I want him to sing that song for us, and to help him, we're going to give him this drum that we use in our Thanksgiving pageant. Come on, young man, sing the song. And the little boy took the drum and he was so scared. And the superintendent said, listen, if you don't sing the song, you're going in the hole. The boy went like this. He sucked it in and began to sing and play the drum. He said, hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo. Singing very feebly. And then all the way in the back of the auditorium, all the way in the back, one little native boy joined in the song. And then 2 and 3. And then before you knew it, all 500 native boys, they all got the spirit and they all began to sing, hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo. And the little 10-year-old boy, he shut everyone up by raising his stick up in the air. And everyone got quiet. And he sang the song just one more time. Hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo, hey ya, hi yo, yeah! Well, that song, rather that story doesn't have a happy ending. All 500 of those Indian boys, they all died before the age of 21. Most of them from alcohol and drug abuse and or suicide, victims of the American Holocaust. But that little boy, I've been told he's a very old man now, a very powerful medicine man out in Oklahoma. One of the few survivors of the Carlisle school. Yeah, and little girls too were victimized. And I wrote this poem about one. Her name was Little Betsy. Little Betsy. It was with an air of expectation that the grown-ups walked into the room. Little Betsy had returned from the boarding school. Betsy's aunts and grandmother had come to see. Little Betsy sat on the floor, playing with a doll. She stroked its hair and rocked it in her arms. She sang a lullaby in the language of her grandmother. The aunts and the grandmother smiled and nodded in approval. The boarding school had not taken Betsy completely away from the ways of her people. And that was good. The little girl began to sing another lullaby, and the older woman left her alone to sing to her doll in private. Betsy looked around to make sure she was alone. She then began to violently shake the doll and slam its head against the floor. Little dumb half-breed bitch, snarled Betsy. She hurled the doll across the room. Slut, crawl back to the shithole where your squaw mother was born. Little Betsy coughed, but she didn't cry. The boarding school had taught her well. She'd never cry again. Not for herself, not for her mother, not for her people, not even for the doll that sat upright in the corner with its neck broken. Little Betsy. Thank you. Over in the Carlisle school, Native young people were taught to hate their relatives who were still heathen, who still lived the old ways. They were taught to hate themselves and who they were. And we still have a little of that today because with this, in the society today, some people want all of us to speak the same language, want all of us to practice the same religion, have all of us to have the same, moral values, and they can't tolerate diversity. It's like this, I never watched CNN and Fox, all right? Because you always get these commentators who say, this is my opinion, this is my point of view. how dare you disagree with me? Because you know, I'm right and you're wrong. I come from a different world. Among Native people, check this out, in the old days, we respected everyone else's religious beliefs and didn't try to convert anyone to ours. That's weird, right? Today's day and age, it is. You folks want to sit down? Wow, SRO only. Have any empty seats here? Or you can squat on the floor, it's clean. Now, I've got to ask, are there any Native American people here? Which nation?
Choctaw.
Choctaw? Where you folks from? Alabama or?
Louisiana.
Louisiana, okay. Got some Choctaw here, who else? Which nation? Chickasaw? Uh-huh. Well, I see a lot of other Native people, but you just forgot who you are. If you're from Latin America, you're probably Taino or Quechua or Maya or Aztec. Any Dominicans in the house? God bless you. My folks come from Puerto Rico. There's a few of you here, right?
Yeah.
I'm from the South Bronx Reservation. Yeah, I grew up in the housing project. How many of you grew up in a housing project? So you know what I'm talking about, right? How many people live in Carlisle, Pennsylvania? What's the population? Well, in my housing project, in one city block, there's 5,000 people. Every night was like New Year's, all right? And the most of the people that I grew up with, they're no longer here. Either crossed over, made the great journey to the other side, or they're locked up in the prison industrial complex. So I'm happy I'm still here. And with that comes an obligation to pass on the word. I've been called many names. Some can repeat it here, some can't. Sometimes I am called Old Coyote. I am called Old Coyote. I have been walking on the earth since way back when first woman and first man emerged from the previous world. Way back when people were humble and gazed with awe at the majesty of the sea, the mountains, and the tiniest seed. Carry these words in your heart around the wheel of time. I am called Old Coyote. See my silver hairs and tired eyes. Listen to my stories. They change and grow. They grow and change to fit the times. We live in the full splendor of our Indian identity. It's time to reclaim our history. It's time to reclaim our identity. Blood knowledge never lies. God gave us our language. No one has the right to take it away and command that we speak and think like they do. Stories passed down from mothers to children who are taught to stand straight in the center of good. Excluded songs, hidden histories, revered elders provide guidance and knowledge. They share their journey songs, songs from since creation. I am called Old Coyote. I have had many women. I have had many men. And that doesn't make me any less a true coyote. They call us superstitious and rape our souls with forced conversions, the globalization of religion. Yes, we live in the full splendor of our Indian heritage. Can you handle that? My grandmother assured me that I could. Woman of authority, woman who art in heaven. We stand on our land. We speak our language. We pray to our gods. And so they call us superstitious because they have forgotten their journey songs. But never will we. Never will we. My ancestors died on the island of Borinquen. They were Taino, brave and fearless. With clarity of mind and purpose, they stood up to Christopher Columbus, refusing to become slaves to empire. My ancestors died on the ramparts of Tenochtitlan. They were Mexica, Aztec, brilliant architects with knowledge systems beyond compare. Our palaces are presently occupied by unauthorized personnel. Cosmic order will soon restore the natural equilibrium. I am called Old Coyote. I am ready to make my final spirit journey. When I die, do me the honor of lighting a candle soft and sweet. Leave me an offering of harvest berries, tobacco, and a prayer drum. Soon we will all return to live in our memories. I am called Old Coyote. I bid you all a very good night, all my relations. Thank you. I wish to thank the drummers, the musicians who honored us earlier. Thank you. Oh, by the way, some of you study American history, right? Yes. You may not know this, but Africans came here many centuries before Columbus. All right? Did you know that? I was talking about like Cherokee people in the Carolinas. I even spoke with an Ojibwe man. He says, yeah, we met them at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River many centuries ago. How many of you come from Mexico? There's a couple of you, right? We have a very rich African heritage. Some folks came before Columbus. You see that in the Olmec statues. Also, when Cortez invaded Mexico in 1519, he had a number of African warriors with him. Those are the invisible warriors in the history books. I am a Taino Indian. Many of the history books say that we no longer exist. It's like that book in that movie, The Last of the Mohicans, and they're still out there kicking butt. In fact, they have a nice big casino in Connecticut. So we, the Taino, are still here, and that's why I wrote this one poem in the title of my book, The Last Puerto Rican Indian. Dangerous memories, stolen histories, identity theft on a cosmic scale. Listen up. Who, what determines who, what we are? My grandmother's stories, contradicted by scientific data, accumulated by self-righteous, self-appointed academians in university ivory towers. Transmission of knowledge, generation to generation. The last Puerto Rican Indian with an abundance of love bites into a Cuban sandwich on the corner of 145th Street and Brook Avenue. The master of time rules over the living, the dying. The master of time rules over the horrified, the terrified. And the last Puerto Rican Indian calls up the wind, calls up the spirits, summons the rain. But then she runs back to her cave in the face of menacing thunder, shields her eyes with flower-covered hands. Let me tell you about my people. We can be proud, difficult, but yet forever ready. We are seen as being naive subversives by the powers that be. They who manipulate national, cultural, political, spiritual, and sexual identities as a means of social control. They who erase us from historical records in vain attempt to render us infinite. Hey, guess what? There needs to be clarification. Hey, guess what? There needs to be talking to the situation. The last Puerto Rican Indian, in tune with spirit of place, is able to visualize who, what, she, he really is. Dangerous memories, stolen histories. The last Puerto Rican Indian rebels by refusing to forget. The last Puerto Rican Indian assumes mantle of responsibility and teaches her children suppressed native philosophy. The last Puerto Rican Indian, does she ever wonder, does he ever see? Some of our people have forgotten who they are, but the land never forgets. But the ancestors never abandon their daughters and sons, for the last Puerto Rican Indian has not yet been born. For the last Puerto Rican Indian has not yet been conceived. For the last Puerto Rican Indian raises her arms up to the sky and welcomes the day, Wepa! Thank you. Now, that message is for all of us in this room. It doesn't matter if your ancestors came from Africa, from the Americas, from Asia, from Europe, from Australia, Arctic or Antarctica, if you look at some continents. Be proud of who you are and where you came from. Because if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. Thank you very much.